How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today I'm really excited because we're going to be looking at all the DVDs and Blu-rays I bought during October 2024. Once again, and I feel like I always say this, hard to believe the month is over, hard to believe Halloween came so quickly, but I did get a good bit of stuff. I will say during September 2024, I didn't buy that many things because I was super busy shooting a movie and I didn't have time to dig through used media shops. But that short that I was filming is now in post-production. I have more free time. It's Halloween season. I wanted to go out and dig for some scary movies, and all the used media stores were putting their Halloween and horror movies up front, right there in center, so I didn't really have to dig as much because there'd be these huge displays full of horror movies, and that was altogether far too tempting. I think I have 25 things here, some really cool stuff, some stuff I'm really glad to have. Only 2 Blu-rays, but they are some interesting Blu-rays. But one thing I will say is there are a few titles that I did double dip on, which I don't typically do, but I'll talk about that when I get to them. There was just some Friday the 13th releases that I couldn't pass up, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I guess I should go ahead and just switch to the close-up camera, show you guys the movies. So without further ado, let's switch to the close-up camera. Alright, here we are inside the castle, taking a closer look at all the Blu-rays and DVDs I got for October 2024. And as always, let's start off with the Blu-rays. This one is a new release that I was really glad to get my hands on. Dark Night of the Scarecrows. This is a combo pack with Dark Night of the Scarecrow 1 and 2, and I was really glad to pick it up. The first one, it's not super Halloween-y, but there is a Halloween party, and there's also a pumpkin patch scene, so I was sure to watch the first one for Halloween. And if you guys have seen 2, definitely let me know if there's any Halloween elements in it or not. But anyway, this was a made-for-TV movie. You get this guy who was wrongfully killed, and the mob that killed him starts to go missing, and when he died, he was hiding in a Scarecrow costume, so that's, of course, their omen of doom. It's a made-for-TV slasher, so it doesn't go as hard as a lot of other slashers do, but it definitely has a bit of atmosphere. And then, like, almost 40 years later or something, they made another one. Yeah, 1981 to 2021. So a very belated sequel. I don't know if it's any good or not. I have not got a chance to watch part 2 yet, but this has both of them in here with a ton of bonus features. And we get the disc with the same artwork as the front, disc 1 and disc 2. Moving on to the next Blu-ray, I was able to find The Child's Eye, which is the 4th The Eye film, and this is a cool 3D Blu-ray from Hong Kong. I believe I can play it on my player. It has the A symbol on the back. That means I can use it, right? Basically, the Eye films were these really cool Asian horror films. They made a remake. So there's 4 films and the remake, and 3 and 4 are a little hard to find, so when I saw that there was part 4, not only was it part 4, but it was on Blu-ray and 3D. I'm not the hugest 3D guy, and I'm not even a huge resolution buff, but I picked this thing up pretty quick. There she is with her dog, and there's her lying in bed and some cool background art. I looked this up on Amazon, and apparently the DVD for it goes relatively cheap. But this Blu-ray, there is only one guy that had it on Amazon, and he was asking for quite the pretty penny. So glad I was able to get this for like 15 bucks as opposed to what he was asking for it. Anyway, those are the only 2 Blu-rays. Let's move on to some DVDs and start off with Shudder. Shudder is a horror-exclusive streaming service, and one thing I really do like is they understand the importance of physical media. I always try to grab up their movies when I see them, and we have Baghead, Talk to the Dead, Pay the Price. There he is on the spine as well. And flip it to the back, and it talks about how there's a rundown pub that a girl inherits from her father, and there's some sort of shape-shifting creature in the basement, and it apparently can let you talk to the dead. Interesting concept. Hope it comes out cool. Under art is the same as the over art. And there's the disc with the Shudder ad. Now, I think there was another movie called Baghead that was like a comedy film, a comedy horror where the killer had a bag on his head. Maybe I'll cover them back to back, kind of a case of title twins there. Another one that I have that was a big new release, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. I did get the first one, I haven't watched it yet. I'll probably do a back-to-back double feature, but needless to say, Winnie the Pooh's in the public domain. Naturally, they're going to make horror movies with him. I hear this one has a little bit better effects, and we also get, it was just Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, but I think that's Owl and Tigger is in there now? I'll have to check them out. I do need to jump onto this series. I know they're making like 1 million of them. There he is on the spine. There's the back. Winnie the Pooh sitting in his chair like he's the killer in Stage Fright. And we slide that off. Again, under artwork is the same. We have a sort of silhouette on the disc itself. This is actually Scream Factory. That's pretty cool. Moving right along, I have a few films in franchises and a few major films. One that I was really glad to get is Rasen. This is a sequel to the original Japanese Ring. A weird thing with this one is they actually made it like at the same time as they did the first one, and in turn they came out like really close together. And yeah, it's kind of like the other Ring too, because this one actually goes by the book sequel, and then Ring 2 just kind of makes up its own thing. So it is cool that we got an adaptation of the second book, and it is cool that The Ring has 2 different part 2s. Although I will say, and tell me if you guys know, but Rasen, it translates to spiral, but then wouldn't Uzumaki also translate into spiral? I know that's another movie that has the same deal where the title translates to spiral, so why is it 2 different words? I don't know, but tell me if you do. There's the spine, and there's the back with Sadako's hand coming out there. Crack it open, and we get a disc with a little ring there. And I will say, this is a very shiny and new DVD case. Pristine, really. Anyway, after that, a found footage film I was really glad to get. A lot of people had talked about it, and for as much as they talk about it, I hardly ever saw it in stores, and now that I had my chance, I finally grabbed it up, and that is Grave Encounters. This is a found footage movie about this crew, the Grave Encounters crew, and they run a ghost show very similar to Ghost Adventures, but of course they do go to a real place, and they will have to encounter real ghosts. We get Tribeca Films there, and there is a few shots. This really does have a cult following, and it has a cult following for a reason. This is one of the better found footage films. There's the ad, and there's a little bit for Tribeca. Front of the ad, and there's the back with a few other films you can get from them. Up next, I hinted at it in the intro, I did get 2 Friday the 13th films that admittedly I did have before. Basically, when I was getting into collecting physical media, I grabbed like a random half of the Friday the 13th films just kind of as I had them, and basically you had this run, which was the standard disc, and then eventually you get the deluxe edition, and I have 2 of those with the motion lingual covers. Those are really nice. But I had 7 and 8, and they were in these cool like autumny orangey designs, and I really love those releases of 7 and 8, even though again they were standard, you know, with no real bonus features. But when I saw in the store parts 5 and 6, and I mean, look at this nice cover art here. The Jason mask on the bottom with this atmospheric thing on the top. These are just really fun releases, and I wanted all of them. Basically, 5 through 8 got released in this way. The standard versions of 1 through 4 are like slight variations on the original posters. But I had to grab these up just because these runs of the films with the orange logos, that's pretty cool. There's the backs of them, and there's them with their matching spines. You know what, this isn't part of the haul, but let me grab... These are the other two. You see the orange and the negative space. It's a really cool set, and there's all 4 of them together. Yeah, I really love these releases. Again, these are from the past. I just wanted to show them to you because I was talking about it so much. But in addition, like, I know I don't need every edition of Friday the 13th, but it is a franchise I really do care about, and I can see maybe grabbing a couple extra releases. But also, one other way I justify this to myself is with all this empty space, and I'm trying to go to conventions more, these would look really cool signed. So that's part of the reason, is I do want to get them signed, and actors like to take up a bunch of space. So hopefully you'll see these again soon, but signed. Okay, up next, last double dip of this haul, I promise, but I was at one of those Halloween displays looking through all their featured movies, and I found the DVDs for Night of the Demons 1 and 2, and Night of the Demons... the first one especially, one of my favorite horror movies. It just has a bunch of cool, crazy energy behind it, but basically there's a haunted house. The kids party there on Halloween, and they start to turn into demons, and they get these really cool makeup jobs. It really does have an Evil Dead feel to it, just wacky, crazy energy, and I absolutely love this movie. It was a video store classic, but as far as home media goes, it was primarily Scream Factory when they introduced this on Blu-ray that got a lot of people into it for the first time, myself included, and the DVDs are getting kind of rare. Again, I'm not the hugest double dipper, but Night of the Demons is one of my favorite movies, so when I saw these here and I knew they were kind of rare, I'm like, yeah, I want to get them. I love this chapter select with the artwork there. And poster on the back. And then Night of the Demons 2, which is not as good as the first. It's a little messy, but I will say it does have a cult following for a reason. It's also pretty crazy, and a lot of people really do love it. I like the first one more. This is still really fun, though. And there's the disc, a lot simpler than the other one. But speaking of signatures, man, I would love to get this signed by either Mimi Kincaid or Linnea Quigley. And it's too bad I picked these up right after I did my Night of the Demons Blu-ray haul. If I had them when I did that haul, I would have put these in there as well. So, oh well, too bad I missed that. Anyway, after that, here's a fun standalone title that I saw. Teenage Exorcist. And we got Brinky Stevens and Michael Berryman there. Isn't that fun? Slumber Party Massacre and Hills Have Eyes. But yeah, there was this trend, you know, of like Teen Wolf, Teenage this, Teenage that, and now we get Teenage Exorcist. And I don't know, I love this cover. That looks absolutely fun, and I really can't wait to watch this. There's the spine with the green there. And there's the back of the movie. And we get to see kind of these old and obscure DVD logo stuff. Special features, letterbox transfer, still gallery, and trailer. Yeah. Crack it open. And there's the disc. A little bit rearranged. Fun, cartoony lettering. Pretty cool. Moving on, it was Halloween, and in turn, I was able to pick up some Halloween movies. Grave Halloween and Halloween Pussy Trap Kill Kill. Yeah, I was hoping to do much more for Halloween than I wound up doing, but I will need more Halloween movies for my Halloween marathon next year. Glad to pick up 2 of them. Grave Halloween is about that forest in Japan where people go in their own life, which they did make the movie The Forest about, so I'm curious what this one will be like. And we get some stills from the back of the movie there. It kind of weird that, I don't know what that forest has to do with Halloween though. Cracking it open, very shiny disc. This other one appears to be some retro throwback movie. I remember it was it there was an old film, Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, and I guess that's what this title is a reference to. And we get Sarah Molecule Lane. I've seen her in a couple shark movies. Shark Lake and I think Sharktopus she was also in. But this seems to be a retro throwback style movie, kind of trying to be big and crazy and over the top. And it's like a girl band that has to fight for survival or something. Seems crazy, and I do love weird and crazy little horror movies. And there she is on the disc as well. Moving right along, we have the Ouija Exorcism. Ouija is one of those things, I know Hasbro was trying to keep a copyright on it for a while. Speaking of Kevin S. Tinney, that's why Witchboard is called Witchboard. They were going to call it like Ouija something. But apparently they decided that anyone can call their movie Ouija. And boy, do we have a bunch of Ouija movies now. After the 2 official ones, there's been a bunch. I pick them up whenever I can. Some of them get a little expensive, and in general, they're not very good. They're like the level of all those Amityville movies, but I figured, why not check it out? And flip it to the back, talks about how in the past, an exorcist trapped a demon inside a Ouija board, and apparently, of course, someone else plays with it and lets it out. Isn't that always the case? Crack it open, disc is the same as the front, and we get to see that this is a former family video movie. Going to another subgenre, one that we actually talked about quite recently with this Scarecrow double pack. I now have another Scarecrow double pack. Scarecrow and Scarecrow Slayer, a double feature. And we get to see him from the first movie there and him from the second one there. He cuts to the chase, and I love this double feature sort of award logo. In fact, it doesn't say Scarecrow, it just says double feature on the spine, which I think is crazy. But again, it talks about how there's a farmer, he dies and he comes back to life in the form of a scarecrow and goes on a slasher spree. I think I should do a Scarecrow marathon for November. There are a few Scarecrow movies I need to cover, and here are 2 more. And the disc is a double-sided disc, so Scarecrow's on one side, and side B will be Scarecrow Slayer. After that, another double feature, and this time around, we have 2 Krampus movies, Granny Krampus and Krampus Returns. I found this at Walmart for $10, which means $5 a movie, which is about what I want to spend on Krampus films. Again, like Amityville films and like Ouija films, not generally that great, but I am going to try to knock a few more out this Christmas. It's a weird little thing, you know. The Mike Dougherty film is obviously copyrighted, but Krampus itself is a mythical creature from folklore, so anyone can make their own Krampus movie. There's the spine, and we get to see that this is actually Shout Studios again, so they did this and Winnie the Pooh too. And there's the back. Granny Krampus. Yeah, we had Mother Krampus and now Granny Krampus. We're getting the whole Krampus family. Strange families bought together for Christmas, but find themselves with a nightmarish entity from their past. And then Krampus the Return, which I thought, did I have this one? But no, that was Krampus the Reckoning that I have. Her brother dies, and her college friends go in search of answers, only to find that the killer is Krampus. And there's a bunch of the information down there. Now, sadly, as with a lot of other double features nowadays, they're both crammed onto the same side of the same disc. But that being said, they're probably not very long movies, so I bet it can hold them. And, you know, some movies I like having single releases of, but the Krampus movies, yeah, we can just cram those onto one disc. After that, let's move into some directors that I'm glad to pick up some new movies from. And the first is AntiViral, which is a Brandon Cronenberg movie. Brandon Cronenberg, son of David Cronenberg, and is really, much like his father, putting out some crazy cool movies. He did Possessor and Infinity Pool. This one he did before those, and it's apparently like this guy that's selling like designer sicknesses that celebrities had or something. It's a weird concept, but it's supposed to be pretty good. I paid less than $10 for it. This is just an old store sticker I couldn't get off. There he is on the spine, and we get to see that this is an IFC Midnight release. And there's the back with some more photos. Crack it open, and the disc is once again cover art. I love Video Guadalupe. Okay, I guess that's some store or something. Lots of little Totoros on here. Alright, another film from a director I really like. We have a Scott Derrickson film, Deliver Us from Evil. I've never actually seen this one. It's one that I saw in video stores all the time and never picked up. You see the gag, Deliver Us from Evil, but it makes the word devil there. But Scott Derrickson, as the top will remind us, Sinister and The Exorcism of Emily Rose, he recently did The Black Phone as well, and that was really good. There's the spine without the little visual pun there. In the back talks about how there's this cop who's investigating a series of murders, but soon suspects that there's something supernatural at work. That was kind of like Exorcism of Emily Rose, wondering if it was supernatural or not the whole time. Crack it open and we have another shiny, shiny disc for us. Alright, moving right along, we have a Ty West film, ironically a Ty West Western. Ty West recently did the X trilogy. He also did Innkeepers and The Sacrament, some cool stuff. This is a Western, and it's about this guy, and the sheriff has this son who's kind of cocky and over the top, tries to kill this guy, but of course he doesn't die, and you get this cool set of a small, rundown, almost ghost town, and he's running around it, out for revenge. Really, really fun, and we get some fun, over-the-top characters as well. Karen Gillian and Teresa Farmiga in this movie as sisters, and both are absolutely having fun with their parts. I saw this one a little bit ago. Maybe I'll do a review for it. I usually cover horror movies, but, I mean, this is Ty West after all, right? So I'll add that to the Ty West section. And moving right along to another director. This is a really cool director, Lucio Fulci, and I think this is one of his later films. It's called Voices from Beyond, and you have this girl, and she's sort of haunted by her father's spirit, and her father's spirit is saying, "You need to solve my murder." There she is there on the spine as well. And there's the back, and it talks about how this guy was killed, but now they're investigating, and the daughter is being haunted by her father, and she has to figure out who did it, and of course the killer is going to come after her as well. Cracking it open, silver disc, and a chapter selection. Nothing on the back. That's cool with the window and the light coming in. Anyway, we'll put that in the Lucio Fulci section after this video. Up next, we have two films from The Asylum. The Asylum, you know them for low-budget mockbusters and shark movies, but here I have two films that aren't really those things. I mean, this is an alien film, but they're not trying to be alien, and I guess people might think The Hitchhiker is like The Hitcher, but it is its own thing. But Alien Abduction, I think I heard a little bit about this a few years ago. It's not supposed to be great, but it's like this girl goes and gets abducted by aliens, and then afterwards the government puts her in a lab and they start to like torture and experiment on her. Actually rated. Most of the Asylum movies they don't rate. And there's the Asylum logo, and there's the disc, same as the front. The second one, The Hitchhiker, this one is about these girls. They pick up a hitchhiker. He seems charming, but you know the drill. It's, of course, going to be a bad guy. He winds up drugging them and kidnapping them, and they're going to have to figure out how to get away. I do love these old stickers, HI for Hitchhiker and Horror. And someone paid $9.99 for this. I got it a little cheaper than that. And there's the disc, same as the front. But yeah, two more Asylum movies, that's always cool. Up next, I got one from this Macabre line. You know, I always thought that was supposed to be duct tape, but I'm betting that's supposed to be steel. But Macabre by Accelerator, I have a few of these. But this is one that I had heard about and wanted for a bit. Saturday morning mystery, sort of taking the concept of Scooby-Doo and asking what would it be like if it were legitimately an 80s movie and not a cartoon and kind of realistic. So Scooby is just a dog, he doesn't talk, and all the tropes you might think of the gang, those are going to be there as well, and they're going to be surviving an 80s horror movie. Sounds really fun. I can't wait for it. I really do like Scooby-Doo and 80s horror, so I will be curious how this turns out. There's the more realistic Mystery Machine, and there's the disc with not quite Scooby-Doo on it, and another family video. After that, we have one from the Unearthed Films line. Unearthed Films does a lot of wild and crazy movies. I usually try to pick them up, and this was actually new and sealed when I got it. A Todd Sheets film, House of Forbidden Secrets. Some things should stay buried. Flip it to the back, and it talks about how there's this house. It's kind of like a place for tenants, so people will come in and stay there, but everybody begins to suspect that it's haunted. Kind of a standard synopsis, but I bet there'll be some twist behind it. There's some pictures, and there's the extras down there. Crack it open, and disc is the same as the front. Alright guys, this has been quite a few movies, but we only have one left. Well, one item to look at. 20 movies. This is the Dead of Night 20 bone-chilling features. I forgot how much I paid, but I did get this for pretty cheap. A lot of them are low-budget or public domain movies, but there were a few things on here that I thought were kind of interesting. There's a movie called Pandemic that's divided into 2 parts, and you get both of them there. There's a movie about apparently a monkey named Nabonga, which I'm curious how the monkey movie is a horror movie. A young girl is the only survivor, and her plane crashes in the jungle. I don't know if that one's gonna be good, but there's other, the standard Little Shop of Horrors, House on Haunted Hill, Night of the Living Dead. So yeah, I didn't pay too much for this, but there are a few interesting things thrown in there with the standard stuff. And there's Mill Creek. Crack it open, and we get to see the dreaded Stacker Tower. Yeah, they crammed a bunch of these on each disc, and we got 1, 2, 3, and 4 disc. Yeah, great if you have to reach the one on the bottom. You gotta pull all 3 top ones out. Oh well, like I said, didn't pay much. And there it is, 25 movies. That is a whole lot. I'll try to be more responsible next time. But hey, it's Halloween. Stock up on some horror movies, am I right? Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. Now, I started this series back in October of 2022, I guess. Halloween I do buy a lot of horror movies for, but I've done a monthly movie haul for over 2 years now. If you want to see more, a playlist should pop up on the bottom, and you can see a bunch of other movie hauls like this one. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.